Hi, I'm Rachel Donegan. I am the Howe Library's Emerging Technologies Librarian, and I am here to show you how to make something every week. This is Howe Makers. Hi everybody, Rachel Donegan here with a Howe Makers video. And today I am home and we also have a guest maker, Shivani. She's with us. She is actually at the library and we are meeting on Zoom. And she is going to show us how to knit on a loom, which are these kind of weird spaceship looking things that come in a bunch of sizes and shapes. And these are also going to be available as a kit to borrow from the library, complete with yarn and the tools that you need to go along with it. So this video will show you how to do it. And I don't know how to do it, so Shivani is teaching me how to do this. I'm gonna make a hat. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So hi everyone, I'm Shivani. I just started up here at the Howe and having a great time. I'm a kind of crafty person by nature, but I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist, which is how I found these round looms. Because if you've ever been somebody who knits, but drops a stitch and then gets really frustrated and has to go back or ends up redoing the whole things, these are for you because you can't miscount and you can always see when you drop a stitch and you don't find out 30 minutes later when you've been in the zone. That's part of why I came to this part of knitting. I tried other ways, but I really like this, and it's a nice way to make hats, scarves, and pretty much anything you can think of. And especially if you get one of the straight looms or the bigger looms, there's lots of possibility.
Well, Shivani gave me this really cool green yarn for my project, and this loom here, which I'm assuming will make a hat for my head size, roughly.
Either a kid or your head size, it depends.
Stretches, right?
It'll be stretchy, but it also is going to look slightly smaller than you think it will when you get it on the loom, just because we're going to be trying to keep it really tight so that there's not a bunch of gaps between our yarn. And so it'll come through. It's more going to be the size of the inside of your loom than the outside.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why I say that, like, the hat size I have on here is more of a newborn size. And so it's going to be a decent size for a baby. But
right.
if like I try to put this on my head, as you can see, not optimal.
You have a crown.
Yes, it would be a very nice crown. It would be a very nice crown. But if I tried to give this to somebody else other than, like, you know, a newborn or a 1-year-old, it would be a bit small.
Right. I have one at the library too that's super small, which looks like it'd almost be fun for like a stuffed animal hat or something.
You can do stuffed animals, or those can be like literal newborn hats, like tiny. Preemie hats, very tiny hats. This is like my kid's size because he had a big head coming out. This is more his.
Nice. So this one might be what I would use for, well.
No, that's too big for your head. So the red is probably the best size we have right there for you. Nice. Take your end of your yarn, loop it once around, then make a loop with your finger, put it together, and twist onto the pointy outie.
Okay.
The twist is important. That is the part.
Kind of a boat. That's kind of like, okay. Got it.
Now you should be able to hold it up by that. So good. Now you've made a nice little slip knot thing for yourself. You can start.
Okay.
As you see with the round loom, you've got all these pegs going around. You want to start at the closest peg to you.
Okay.
And go back and around.
Okay. So I went.
So I'm going to go around the back and front. And then keep going.
So I go all the way around.
All the way around the room.
Like one full loop around each peg. Oh.
One full loop around.
There's supposed to be a little bridge between that two? Like that?
Yep. They're supposed to be connected.
Okay. I guess, obviously. It's a piece of yarn. It's all going to be connected, right?
It would be difficult if it weren't.
Hold on.
You're going to go, if we're making a hat, we're going all the way around the loop.
Okay. So I basically go past the pin and then around it, basically, right?
Yes. Okay. And now with your fingers or with the hook provided, you push the loops down.
Okay.
Each of your pins should have a loop. If it doesn't, then we need to go back and redo. But the nice thing about the round loom is you immediately see that there's a problem.
Yeah.
And as we go along, it probably gets easier to do this with the hook. But for the first one, I do it with my fingers just because it's a little sticky.
Yeah.
But that's a personal preference.
Yeah, and you were mentioning before we started recording that some looms have, and I can show this on the camera, some are kind of straight pegs like this one.
And then some have these little heads.
Yeah, like yours has those little, yeah. So they're kind of just different manufacturers, right? I mean, but they all kind of work the same.
Yeah, some people just prefer it one way or the other.
Yeah.
But they should all have this little slot. And that little slot will become important later.
Okay.
So now that we've pushed it all of our loops down to the bottom, we go back to our pointy outy bit and we undo the little knot we made. Only the first one, only this most recent one, not the one that's holding the yarn from the very beginning.
Okay. So now I do have a gap between my.
So you see, I've got a gap as well, but that's okay because we're going to go around again.
Okay. Wait.
So we go round.
Yep. We're just going to do what we did before again.
Do it again.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you come back to the end again.
Okay. Hold on.
And
try not to lose my.
Wrap it around the pointy outy bit just like you did before.
I have a knot I'm going to have to deal with in a little bit.
That's okay.
My yarn.
Once you knot this off, then you can, once you've got that loop back in, then you'll be able to deal with it. You won't mess anything up because it should all stay together.
Okay. So I am going to tie it off again.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Fast forward. Oops. Past. Okay. All right. Tie it off again. Loop, twist the other way. Boop. Okay, push it down again. No.
Nope, wait. So your finished product should look something like this. 2 lines marching along all the way around your loom.
Yeah.
So once you've gotten to this point, now we need the hook.
Okay. And this will be in the kit too. So this will be part of the kit. But you can also use a crochet hook, I guess, right?
Yeah, I just like this one better just because if you watch what I'm about to do, it picks it up.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
And that's what the groove is for. It's like that fits in that groove. Okay, so where are you starting exactly?
So I go down to the peg 1 to the right of the pointy outy bit.
Okay, 1 to the right. Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm taking my hook, slipping it under the bottom loop here.
Yep.
Lifting over the top. Your first one is going to be the hardest because it is the most under tension. Yeah. If you can't get it over, you can always undo your knot and give yourself a little bit of slack, but you'll want to redo that because otherwise your knitting will eventually look kind of it'll have holes in a sense. It'll just look too
okay, because it won't be tight enough.
Yep. And then once you get it over the side, once you get it over the top, then go ahead and push it down. So so all of a sudden it should look like you only have 1 loop.
Yep.
But it's because the other loop's on the back.
Right. And then just keep going.
And then just do it all the way around.
Going. Okay.
And that's what becomes nice and meditative about this. It's part of why I started really enjoying it is you can just sit here and just rotate it around and loop. Pull loop, wrap loop. Especially when you get into a rhythm, this is great to do while you're watching TV, stuck in a car, not driving.
Not driving.
But,
Right. Yeah, I could see doing this after the pandemic in the airport or something.
No, I did that a lot.
So mine are pretty loose now.
So make sure you still have it tightened here. Make sure it's still looped at that pointy outy bit. You should get a little loss of tension, but it shouldn't be super loose.
Okay. It's not super loose. I feel like
that's
I'm having to push it down a little bit so it doesn't pop back over.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. You'll see on mine, I'm also pushing down.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's the thing.
You push down as you go. You kind of push down as you go. Oh, okay. I should probably go back and
I loop push down, and that's something I just do on automatic. If you space out, if you get a phone call, if you have to stop, most of the time, unless you're in the wrapping stage, it just stays. And then you pick up next time where you left off.
Yeah. Oh, I am back. I'm back to my beginning.
Yep. And then you do it again.
I loop it. I have to do the looping now.
Now you do the looping.
Okay. Well, now I have to deal with my knot that I have in my yarn, but it doesn't look too bad. So if you did run out of yarn,
you could just tie more yarn on to the end.
Oh, okay.
I've done that before.
Okay. I got my knot out. Yay. Okay. That was pretty easy. Okay.
Yeah. If you couldn't get it out, I would have just told you to slice it and retie. That's totally reasonable.
Okay.
So yeah, now I'm back to the beginning, and you can see on the inside, I've got this little stitching started. And that's the beginning of the hat.
Okay.
Now we loop again.
Oh, and I can see now where I should have pushed them down before.
And if you end up buying any of these kits or anything in Joann's instead of using the Howe's, a lot of them do have a manual. I think Michael's has these too, but pretty much anywhere should have them. And they'll have a manual and they'll teach you all sorts of stitches and stuff. This is the utter basic thing, but if you wanted, you can do like a hat with a brim. There are ways to do like a bigger hole size. If you want a scarf that kind of like has that lacy look to it, there's all sorts of different ways to do it.
So this will look like a knit on one side and a purl on the other, like traditional knitting, or?
Yeah. So it's going to but it's going to look like just like a regular scarf in that sense. The only thing, like a scarf or a hat, the only thing that's different is there'll be a slight curl because you're making it on a round surface.
Right.
But you get that curl sometimes with regular knitting too.
Yeah, on the ends. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've made a mistake, but you know what? If I want, I can just put them both over and just keep going like nothing happened. Right. You're going to see a little bobble. Oh, it's really hard to show this with a webcam. You see a little bobble there?
Yeah.
No one's going to notice that.
You won't notice it. So will you see wait, your hat won't have a seam, right? It's not like sewn together at any point. So there's no
this will be on the inside of the hat. Nobody's going to notice.
Oh, okay.
You can go back and redo the whole thing, but when I'm at the very beginning of the hat, I don't worry about it too much because no one looks that closely unless they also like to knit. And in that case, they will also understand.
So mine is looking, I think I've just did my third row and I can actually see my.
Yeah, you're knitting. I'm
actually seeing the knitting now. So I'm not past my loom yet. I mean, it's still in there because I haven't done many rows, but.
Yeah, and then literally you just keep going until you think the hat is the right length. And then you stop and then you do the finishing up bit, which is really all you have to do is you stop, undo it, go to the top, and you're going to unpick it from the loops. And then you pull it tight.
Okay.
It's super simple.
Oh, so that will be the top of the hat.
That'll be the top of the hat.
Okay, so we are going to come back to the viewers. It's going to look seamless, but what we're going to do is do our work on our own over the next couple of days and weeks. And I'm just looking at one part. It looks a little weird on mine. I'm just mushing it back. And we're going to come back and Shivani's going to show us how to do that tying off part, which sounds magical. If you pull thread and it comes together, it sounds really fun to me.
I mean, it is really cool the first time you do it. Like the first time you're like, I made a hat. I did a thing. And it's very satisfying as well.
Cool. All right. Well, we will come back at some point and we will, we'll have like a pause in our video and we will come back with, maybe a more finished product. That's my plan anyway.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. This was fun.
This was fun. We should definitely
because I haven't knitted in ages. I actually remember this morning. I was like, oh shoot, gotta get the loom.
Okay. So we are back. It has been maybe 2 months or a month. I don't know. It's been a while, but we are back with Shivani and this is Howe Makers and I'm Rachel and we have knit. Look at that. We have done some loom knitting and I left mine like hooked here, so we're gonna try to undo that. I made a little bit of a goofy goof. I never undid it. So it should look like Shivani's there. It's a nice little tube. It almost looks like a sea creature, actually, that color.
Sea cucumber.
Yeah, exactly. Like an anemone or something. That's cool.
So
So
one of the
yeah,
first
so
things
go
we're
for
gonna
it.
want to
That's
do,
what to do.
one of the first things we're gonna want to do is if you, like Rachel, still have your stuff tacked on in that handy little loop we did. I'm gonna do mine back. What you want to do is you can pull right here and just kind of like loosen it up a little bit
Okay.
and get the loop to come off that way.
It's like, okay, now it looks like a, wow, it's a lot of hat.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. And now what you want is you want to measure out approximately a foot of string.
Okay.
I'm approximating because I don't have a ruler, but you know, just eyeball.
Okay.
It's always better to have more string than less string, I will say.
Okay, because you can always, yeah, and a couple inches isn't gonna.
Yeah, and you can always trim later. So you trim.
Okay, so I've trimmed.
And then you take your handy dandy sewing needle.
Okay.
This should not be sharp. This is just for yarn. So don't worry about hurting yourself, and thread the needle just like you're really sewing.
Okay, yep, got it.
And now the tricky part.
Okay.
So you see this loop. I am going to pass my needle under this loop.
Okay, so that's the one it's attached to in my case. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay. Yep.
And then I'm going to pull the loop off.
Okay, so pull it through. I should have watched again.
Pull
it through and pull it off kind of at the same time.
Do it again. Watch out what I'm doing. I try not to do it at the same time because I get kind of nervous. So here I pull it through. Make sure it doesn't catch on your loom. So pull it and then just take the loop and have it come off. The biggest thing is to just make sure you get your thread that you're sewing with through every loop and that you do not lose the thread from the eye of the needle.
Kind of already started doing the next step because I know it. So hard not to.
Tiny hat.
So you did it. You just pull the string, right? To make it all.
Just pull the string.
Pull the string and it all like scrunches together.
Yep, and then there's the top of the hat, and then we pull it up, and then we got to tie tight. I like to do.
How do we?
I like to do a loop with my fingers and pull the needle through, so I can get it as tight and close to the top of the hat as I possibly can, so I don't have some weird bobbly thing sitting there.
I do have.
So I do one, and then two knots. Sorry, it's very hard to see with my fingers.
So you're basically just knotting it off at the top. Like you're not doing anything. So
I'm not doing anything fancy. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my extra thread and I'm just going around. I'm essentially adding a little bit of reinforcement. This is just something I do. This is not something everybody else does. I'm just adding reinforcement with my extra thread around the top because this is like the most kind of pressured area.
There we go.
So now I've tied off, I've reinforced, I've knotted. Now for the big reveal.
Snip.
We slice. I also like to come down here so you can weave this part in, this little edgy bit.
Yep.
So you can put that on your needle or do it with your hands, whichever you prefer, and just weave it into your existing hat structure.
Mine's pretty funny down there because where I started, I didn't know what I was doing.
That's what's fine. It's fine because it's the brim of a hat. You can, even if you want, go back later and make it brim. But now, a tiny hat.
Aww.
Hold on, I will put it on our library scanner. It can have its own little hat.
It's cute. Now it just needs googly eyes. It'll look like
it's a little cozy.
That's awesome. I love
Hello from our library. We miss you. We miss you.
That is adorable. Here's mine. I like how it rolls up because it actually kind of hides my, I didn't sew mine in yet, but it kind of hides my little weird beginning. I'm going to try it.
Oh, perfect.
It's kind of fun. I kind of wanted it sort of a slouchy hat. It's not as slouchy as I thought it was going to be,
No,
actually.
but look at that. That
My
really
head is
looks good. Lots of
cool.
possibilities.
Interesting. So many possibilities. Well, thank you so much for doing this over the course of many weeks. So we've been talking about what time we can get back together to finish off our hats. But I keep an eye out for those kits. You can reserve the kits. You can put them on hold. You can pick them up with contactless pickup. They're going to include a couple different sizes of loom, including the long skinny loom. And it's going to also include some yarn and the needle and the hook tool as well. So I don't know where mine went. Here we go. I used this one because I didn't have the official one. So I used my vinyl weeding tool, but it also works. So keep an eye out for all those, and you can do some loom knitting at home. And yeah, and share with us what you make, because we would love to see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.